Being carded in dictionaries define a cult as a system of religious or spiritual beliefs, especially an informal or transient belief system regarded by others as misguided, unorthodox, or extremist. By this definition, it can be said that all religions began at this point. The majority, if not all, have quaint origins where it was believed they were peculiar or a contradiction to the norm of the current major religion. In modern times, cults began to reach the status of religion with the amount of followers and the credibility the institution receives. There is no set standard as to how to judge a cult from a religion. However, many determine what a religion is by whether it is tax exempt. It is important to first understand these guidelines when discussing cults and religions. Because of the definitional confusion, there tends to be a misunderstanding in discussing cults. With that said, there needs to be a better understanding of the type of people that join cults and for what reasons. Cults and alternative religions tend to prosper in times of social instability. They offer members clear solutions to complex problems, a promise of salvation, and a sense of security in belonging to a group. The social upheaval of the 1960s and the experimentation with alternative lifestyles probably contributed to the surge in cult membership. The communal lifestyle practiced by many of the alternative religions appealed to many young people who sought to remake society. When looking at the history of cults in the United States, those who typically joined were white teens and young adults from the middle class who are more often than not women. Many of these people are looking to find themselves or a new experience. Not a few say they were attracted to idealism and spiritual quest. Harmless experimenting during the time of youth heading towards adulthood is a large reason for becoming a member or looking into these sorts of groups. Not the misconception that people who join are mentally unstable. In a California study, researchers interviewed hundreds of cult members and concluded that 75% registered as normal in the terms of American society standards. Towards the end of the 20th century, cults around the world began to get a very negative connotation. The increase of doomsday cults made the population frightened and skeptical of anything foreign. A doomsday cult preaches apocalyptic scenarios and the end of the world. These types of groups scare people into joining with the promise that those who join will be spared and survive Armageddon. One of the more infamous doomsday cults of the last 100 years is what the media referred to as the Manson family. The Manson family was a group led by Charles Manson in Southern California, about 30 miles northwest of Los Angeles in the late 1960s. Manson was an ex-convict in his mid-30s, prowling the streets of San Francisco for people in their late teens and early 20s that seemed to be easily manipulated, mostly runaways. With this group of teens and young adults, he was able to control them by taking advantage of their already feeble mind and with constant drug use, mainly LSD. While his followers were in the trance-like state of the LSD, Manson would recreate the crucifixion. From the day-to-day, he would often refer to himself as both God and Satan, as well as claim that he was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. With this, he preached the coming of a racial apocalypse, and it was for this reason that multiple murders took place. At least 10 known murders took place in 1969 by the family, the most well-known of which was the slaying of Sharon Tate, an actress and wife of director Roman Polanski. She was 8 months pregnant. The killing was remembered for the viciousness and extreme disregard for life, and the victim's blood, words such as piggy and death to pigs were written on the walls, and additionally, war was carved into the stomach of Leno LaBianca, a grocery store owner and victim. People's Temple is another group that helped in giving the term cult a negative connotation. People's Temple was formed in the mid-1950s by Jim Jones, whose goal was to promote socialism and togetherness. Despite Jones' atheism, he created this group and led it successfully, even moving a large number of followers to Guyana, South America, to form a socialist paradise called Jamestown. However, it was there on November 8, 1978, that what seemed to be a harmless commune on the surface turned out to be the most dangerous group in America's history. Tim Stowen, the People's Temple former attorney and close friends to Jones, left the group after supposedly witnessing mistreatment in Jonestown. They claimed that Jonestown was being run like a concentration camp and that people were being held against their will. These concerns motivated Leo Ryan, a congressman, to visit Jonestown in 1978 of November for a personal inspection. After an inspection that went fairly well, Ryan asked if anyone wished to fly back to the United States with him. Two families stepped forward. While at the airport in Georgetown, approximately 10 People's Temple loyalists opened fire on the congressman, camera crew, and departing families, killing Ryan and 4 others. That night, Jones convinced the remaining people at Jonestown that their paradise was coming to an end and that they needed to end their lives as a revolutionary suicide in protest to the end of capitalism. Having listened to and served Jones for some time, the members took order without question and ingested Flavor Aid laced with a combination of drugs and chemicals, including cyanide. Just over 900 died in the mass suicide. This was the largest American civilian, non-natural disaster-related death up until September 11, 2001. Also in the realm of notorious suicide groups is Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate is often referred to as a Ufo cult. They believe that a UFO would come to Earth and take the members away at the time of the apocalypse. This group was formed and led by Marshall Herb Applewhite, often called Bo by the followers, and Bonnie Lou Truesdale Nettles, called Peep, in 1972. These two claimed to be the 2 witnesses in the Bible that would appear at the end of time, be murdered, and then resurrected. The group began to slowly lose followers when Nettles died of cancer in 1985. Heaven's Gate, now led solely by Applewhite, developed a life of obedience, poverty, and celibacy. So much so that the men within the cult castrated themselves as a way of spraying sexual urges. In 1997, when the Hale-Bopp comet was reaching its point of orbit closest to the Earth, Applewhite was positive that Nettles would be following in a spaceship she was piloting. After aboard the spaceship, the members would reach a heaven and enlightened state. Applewhite instructed that the only way to reach a spaceship was to leave Earth behind, or plainly, to die. 39 members, including Applewhite, consumed a mixture of drugs and vodka. Their bodies were found on March 26, 1997. The group was dressed in black pants and shirts and Nike sneakers. Each member was lying in a bunk with a purple cloth over him or her. All the members were consenting adults who had thought out their decision as made apparent by letters and videos left behind.
It's March 19, 1997. And